surveillance. Not this kind of surveillance, but mostly this. People seem to think that surveillance is only about those little cameras we see upon every corner, but in 2019, surveillance is much more than that. More specifically, how this new form of surveillance is impacting our daily lives in more ways than we could even imagine. Maybe not us individually, but globally it is having an impact on crime and justice, advertising and personal brand. I know I open myself up to being surveilled and engaging in all the social media platforms where businesses can use data to benefit themselves and target me in forms of advertising. I feel as though as consumers, even though we're engaging in these free platforms, there should be a way that we can prevent being spammed by something we good 2 weeks ago that apparently now they think that we're in desperate need for. I mean, surely we've all experienced talking about that one thing with that best mate over brunch. Brunch. And then coming home and it being the first thing that pops up on our newsfeed. Surely that's not just a coincidence. Initially, it makes me never want to Google anything ever again. Realistically, we know that will never happen, and they know that will never happen. So here we are in a constant cycle of not wanting to be monitored, but also kind of wanting to be monitored so we can find about new trends and that cool new trendy bar that's opening up in Melbourne. I mean, how else would we find out about this stuff if we didn't have Facebook and Instagram to target us based on a search we made last week about where to go for dinner? I think it's time we look at the big picture and how surveillance is being used widely rather than in one minute sector of our lifestyles. Thinking about the word surveillance only takes my mind to negative things. You only ever hear it being used in the media in terms of a crime that's being committed or the fact that they're trying to get more evidence. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for their success. Take the Jill Meagher case of 2012. If it wasn't for those little snippets of surveillance footage along Sydney Road, who knows how long it would have taken to close the case. Going back to social media and how often we are tracked and recorded, there is no doubt that police couldn't use this data to help them close cases. An article I found in the Journal of Public Health talked about how social media surveillance could be more utilised to track and monitor drug use trends. Considering illicit drug usage numbers are rising, similarly to online addiction, in my opinion it would only make sense to combine forces and try to solve the issues in society using social media. I mean, take a look at this graph. It shows the drug use trends in those Australians aged 14 and up. But then if you take a look at this graph, you can see also a spike in social media trends between the years 2013 and 2016. Is it safe to assume that social media and those people that are more accessible online in terms of celebrities and being more visible in the public eye is affecting drug use? Or is it just a coincidence there's a similar spike in that 3-year period? I don't know. We'll never really know. Collating data from users in specific geographical locations could be used to pinpoint where the drug abuse is more highly affected. Now, I'm not talking exact street locations or back alleys, but a general location or radius to pinpoint where the issue lies is important. This information will be somewhat helpful in finding and deterring the use of drugs if they know they're going to be monitored and potentially caught. I think it is important that we educate young people these days about the long-term effects drugs can have on you and the people in your life. Considering the youngest drug age recorded in the survey is 14, it would be safe to assume that they're still in their younger years of high school, being mostly influenced by people of high levels and those that have a social status in the community. Unfortunately, using surveillance would have its drawbacks. As stated in the journal article, the algorithm used to extrapolate data may not be as specific as they could be. That's not to say that their relevance may not be important into where the drugs can be found or people using them in the community. In my opinion, investing the time and money into developing new software and new technology to take away data where drug and alcohol abuse is more commonly communicated and targeting those individuals would only benefit the community in widespread. Talking about how the negative effects of drugs can have on a person individually and their family and the community can be quite negative. Looking at this from a different perspective, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this became a known measure of tracking and recording data in relation to drug abuse and drug usage in the area, and those people involved would potentially boycott the social media platforms and find different ways to communicate. Now, I'm not saying that every drug user and drug dealer out there is a horrible person and that we should just all of a sudden target them all. Addiction is a scary thing and in my opinion is viewed inappropriately as a society. We seem to just deem them as unsafe and shove them into a corner. I mean, they're battling a mental illness and I think we need to focus on education and support to help them get on their feet and continue to live a happy and healthy lifestyle in our community. I remember back in high school we had countless talks and year level meetings regarding road safety. Those talks I remember so vividly simply because they had guest speakers, and these guest speakers weren't just representatives from the specific organisation. They were real people who had real stories to tell regarding how they were affected by road trauma, whether it be they were the only ones to survive the crash or they were a family member of someone who'd passed away due to a crash. Whatever it was, it stuck with me even to this day. I've been driving myself for 3 years now, and I feel every day I get in my car and I can remember someone's story that they told me. Now, I'm not really sure why we don't do that in relation to drug abuse. Why couldn't we get mental illness or mental health organisations to come in with guest speakers who had been affected negatively by drug abuse, and now they've come out on top and recovered? I think education and giving people a real life example, especially young kids, about how drug abuse and how it can affect them negatively in the future as well as their families. I think it is also important that we educate young people about how easy it is for people to find information about them on their social media platforms. I mean, kids these days have access to technology far more easier than I can remember I ever used to have. Classrooms have iPads. It's so much easier to get access to the online world. I think it's the responsibility of parents and schools to educate students on how to live in the online world and to prevent any antisocial behaviour from occurring. Overall, I think that social media surveillance is a positive. I mean, imagine how many people can be positively affected by this social media surveillance in terms of not even just drug abuse. I mean, any crime that's being committed or unlawful activity that could potentially affect someone who's just an innocent bystander. I really hope you enjoyed today's video talking about social media surveillance in our community. I think it's really important for us to consider delving more in depth to how we talk and communicate online, and people of higher up who have access to what we do and how we use the online platforms, using it to their benefit. See you next time. Thanks for watching.